If you make a lot of changes to your overall site architecture, it's common to lose some traffic because search engines have to crawl the new site, discover the new pages, and then note the changes. But as long as you do this correctly, this loss should be minimal, and you should be able to regain, if not improve on, your old traffic numbers. So if you plan to integrate a new URL structure and rewrite all of your content, it's best to do it one at a time so you can reduce any loss of traffic. And if there are any issues, you will know what the cause of the issue is and you can repair it. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot harder to figure it out. So if you rewrite all your URLs, you change all your content, you're not going to know which was the cause of the problem if something were to happen. So just do one or the other, and after time you will be able to make additional changes, and that way you can continue to monitor your traffic and to make sure that there are no issues with the site. With that being said, I want to take a look at how you can actually go about finding the pages that you're going to start working with, which has to do with the backlinks that you have. And then I want to look at how we will actually go about implementing a 301 redirect. So the first thing that I like to do is find out how many backlinks the site has and which pages are receiving these backlinks, because we want to make sure that we pay special attention to these pages in particular. So there are many tools out there, both free and paid, that you can use to find your backlinks. I actually like to use a handful of them when looking for backlinks because I find some backlinks appear on some tools and I'll find different backlinks that appear on others. And it's just a matter of what they have found. One of those sites is Open Site Explorer by Moz, and I can go in here and I can see if there's any backlinks. Here it's reporting that I have no backlinks, but they would appear here if I did. I can also go into SEMrush and I can do the same thing, throwing in my URL here. And I'll be able to see here it says I have no backlinks. I can actually click through into backlinks. I'll be able to see all the backlinks that I have, where they're coming from, what pages they're actually going to. I can see my anchor text here, so that's very helpful. I can also go into Majestic and throw in my URL and see this is telling me I just have one backlink. I can go down and see what that is, and this is pointing to this directory-free website. Not looking like the best backlink there, so we'll want to look into that a little bit more. But the last place that I like to look, this is actually the first place I like to look, is the Google Search Console, because this will actually show me what links Google sees. So I can go to search traffic and links to your site, and this is going to give me a full list. So see, now here it's telling me I have 260 links, but it shows that 229 of them are appearing on yellow pages. So obviously I have a lot less than 260 links in reality, but I can look here and I can see how many different backlinks I actually have. Here, Google is reporting that I have 16, so obviously much different than the other sites. I can see which site is pointing to which pages. Here it says, so for instance, I can click into, let's say, Hot Frog. It says I have 3 links and it's linking to one page. And it's going to show me all 3 of the links are going to the home page. Again, I can do the same thing here. Google says it's linking to 2 pages. So this will also give me a good idea of the backlinks that I have. Now when I go into Google, it shows me that it is providing me with 2 backlinks. One is going to the home page and the other is going to the services page. So as I go through these links, it looks like the majority of the backlinks that I'm receiving are going to my home page. And so obviously we're going to want to maintain what's going on the home page there. If I saw that my services page was appearing a lot, or a particular article that the client had written for the website, and that's very popular, it's receiving a lot of links, I want to make sure that I maintain that page. So now that I know what backlinks I have, I want to actually go to the site and I want to take a look at the URL structure that I have, and I want to note this down. So again, we can look at the services page. We can see that this is the URL. We can see the portfolio, and we want to note down all of these links. If I was using an HTML site, I could use the same URL structure here. If this was already on WordPress and it did not have the .html, it just was /portfolio, I could continue to use that as well. But in this particular instance, I'm going to have to use a 301 redirect to point the portfolio.html page to a new portfolio page. So let's take a look at how to do that. Now, as I mentioned, I want you to be aware that when moving a page from one URL to another, the search engines are going to take time to discover that 301 redirect, to recognize it, and then also to credit the new page with the rankings of the old page. So it's not immediately going to have that same trust. It's not immediately going to have that same ranking. That is why you may see some fluctuation. So again, just monitor the results and give it a little bit of time to take effect as well. Now let's take a look at how to do these 301 redirects. If this is something that you don't feel comfortable with after we go through it, you can always bring in someone to help you do this or monitor what you're doing just to make sure it's done right, because this is absolutely crucial. But I'm going to give you a few options for how to do this. Another thing I want to point out is that there is a website called redirectcheck.com, and you can actually throw in your URL here, and you can just make sure that if you have put in any redirect code, that is actually redirecting correctly. That way you know you have done it right. So there are a few options for doing a 301 redirect. The first one is you can place the redirect code in the header of your site. If you have a PHP site, for example, I'll show you some code. The second option is if you're using WordPress, for example, you can use a plugin to help you redirect the pages. And then lastly, what you can do is you can add the redirects directly to your .htaccess file. So let's look at these three options and how to actually do this. So here's the first one. If you have a page and you want to redirect it to a new page, this is the code that you will place between the header tags of your particular web page. You will include this first line here, and then you will replace obviously this new -URL with your actual domain name, and / if it's a particular page, you can add the remainder of the URL there. So that's pretty straightforward. Now your second option is you can use a plugin. So for example, let's look at this plugin here. This is called Redirection. And this is a free WordPress plugin, and all you simply do is you paste in the old URL. So if I was doing that services page that we talked about, I think it was 3 dashes and pricing.html, I could throw that in here, and then I can put in my new target URL here. Let's just say we're going to call it services. And then I can click add redirection, and that's it. I'm done. And then I can go and add the next page in. So this makes it very, very simple. This is basically a way to add this code to your .htaccess file, as we're about to look at, without actually having to go into that actual file. And you can just use this plugin. So this is, if you don't feel as comfortable using these other options, this is a good option to use. Now lastly, what we can do is we can add the redirect code to our htaccess file. Now, before you make any changes to the .htaccess file, you want to make sure that you have a copy of this. So you can download this from your cPanel, or you can go in through FTP and just create a copy of it. And that way, if you make any changes, it messes anything up, then you have one that you can replace it with. But this is pretty straightforward. The code that you see here, this is what is on a default .htaccess file. So when you go to add any redirects, what you'll want to do is you'll want to add in some code that looks like this. You'll start by adding this open and close tag here, showing that everything in between is what you as the user have added as 301 redirects. And then you can add a redirect. You simply are going to put redirect 301, then you put /, and then the remainder URL of the site. So for instance, if this was the livelonandprosper.com site, instead of putting livelonandprosper.com /testimonials.html, I simply put / testimonials.html, a space, and then the new page. So I would then put http / livelonandprosper.com / testimonials, if that's the new page. I would then move on to the next line, put the old page right here, and then go ahead and put the new URL right here. Now, one thing that's very important to note is that I'm only putting one redirect per line in this file. That's very, very important to make sure that it works. Now, there's also a plugin called Yoast that is very popular, and it will actually allow you to edit your .htaccess file directly from the plugin in WordPress. I still think doing it via FTP is better because you're going to be able to create a backup. So like I said, if anything goes wrong, you still have that copy to do. So as you can see, you have a few options for doing a 301 direct. It's really not that hard to do. It's really not that scary. And depending on your level of experience and your level of comfort, you can pick the option that works best for you and your